Hello! Once again, you'll have to excuse the mess that is my workbench. We have a DMOC445 controller hooked up on the bench today. I've got the processor board's been taken out so that we can probe some signals on it, but trying to get it up and running. You can see my mess of wires here. I've adapted this over to my test motor, so we got the encoder signals coming in through here, and then we got communications here. We have both serial and CAN hooked up, but I don't actually have the CAN bus going to anything. It's currently just sitting right here. This is CAN based, however it does have an analog control mode, and I'll show that in a second here, where I've flipped a bit to put an analog mode. I have everything wired up here for the analog system, which goes over to the trusty test box. And that should theoretically all work, but of course things don't work out as one would expect. So I've got all the analog stuff hooked up. According to the electrical interface data sheet here for the controller, you just need to have power, your 5K pot, forward reverse switch, enable disable. And that's what I've got here. This is my 12 volt source, my e-stop switch, circuit breaker, and I got this pot wired up for throttle. I have both, this is the enable, this is the disable, and I've got my forward and reverse switch hooked up. So that should all theoretically work, and it doesn't. I'll show you what it does here. If I flip over to CC shell, we'll go ahead and turn it on. So you'll see it happily start propagating. There you go, we got everything. Battery pack's at 277 volts. We see that system's offline. Gaps are charged. Contactor's open or neutral. RPM is 0, but if I go and spin the motor here, you can see the RPM going up. If I spin it the other way, it goes negative. So we know that's at least working. We're waiting for the drive enable signal, and we have no errors. So I'll go ahead and flip this on. The contactor clicks in, and the contactor state is now closed. We're still in neutral. Everything's good. And this is what I'm getting. Waiting for 0 power request. And I've got my pot all the way down. It doesn't go any lower than this. Actually, if I short it out, because I tried shorting out the ground, it actually will throw the error that the wire is broke. So that's as low as it's going to get without messing it up. And you can see if I turn the pot here, you can see that this value pedal goes up to about 0.8. And again, if I were to short it out completely to the supply, then it would throw another error saying that the wire broke high. So that's working the way it should, but unfortunately it won't make it go. And if I put it, let me flip it to forward, you can see it's now switched over forward, and it's an acceleration. And if I give it some throttle and nothing happens, it won't spin. It's still always giving me this waiting for 0 power request. And so I was trying to figure out what on earth that actually means. And even though let me flip over to the editor here. I've set, in the manual it says, where is it? It's on here somewhere. Control mode. By setting control mode to 0 is CAN, and setting it to 1, which is what it's currently set to, should enable analog control mode. And it does, because the analog stuff is all working, it's all showing up, but apparently that isn't enough. So if we were to go, is it this way? Yeah, where's that? Control mode, yeah, so EEX control mode, CAN control, pedal mode, analog inputs used. We're definitely seeing those, so we know that's set up right. And then 2, it says not recommended. That looks like it will do bad stuff. But it's got this interlocks and safety safety section here, and it says at power up, the DMOC must receive the control messages with the torque limit set to 0 in order to activate the power stage. An activated power stage is indicated in CAN SAS message 1 bits blah 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 blah. So even though it's in analog mode, it's acting as if it still needs a CAN message. And I was trying to avoid having to write a bunch of code, send CAN packets over this, but it does look like I'm going to have to do that. So we're going to probably have to recruit the good old DMOC adapter, and we'll just have to add in some code to actually send the CAN packets, because they're different than the 645, of course. So I'll have to work on something to send that over. Luckily, I've got a CAN connector on here, which happens to be the correct CAN connector for this. And we'll just plug it in and hopefully get it up and running. But I think one of the issues that they were having was that the contactor wasn't working right, but it clicks in like every time I flip it. It's definitely working. So I can even do where I kill it this way. It takes a little bit longer. I'm not quite sure why. If you flip the emergency disable, the CAN stays, or the contactor stays engaged for a really long time. So not quite sure what's up with that. Maybe it's waiting for you to deaccelerate or something. I'm not quite sure, but it's not moving, so I don't know what's going on with that. But if I just turn the main on and off, oh, I'm going to turn it back on, then that's instantaneous. But it seems to click in every time and click out every time. So yeah, the contactor seems to be working fine. It looks like I'll have to write a little bit of code and get the whole DMOC adapter involved in this this mess as well. So let's see what happens. Hey, thanks.